Modern Elves is a deck that uses lots of cheap costing elves that generate lots of mana to generate tons of card advantage, to then play a card that will then pump your elf army to huge amounts and then swing for the win. For a long time, Elves was a forgotten modern deck, but with the recent printing of Collected Company, Modern Elves has come back in favour. If you're interested in playing Modern Elves, then keep listening because I'm going to do a comprehensive deck tech of everything that you need to play it. Now keep in mind, Collective Company Elves is in its early days. There's still a lot of room for variation and changing the cards that are in the deck. It's very likely that if you're listening to this video a year from now, the deck has changed quite a lot, so keep that in mind while listening. The deck is normally green and white. Now there have been some variations that have been running black as well. For the purpose of this video though, I'm just going to be going over the green and white version. So let's begin with the creatures. I'm going to be starting by going over the core creatures that make up the mana engine of the deck. Of course, the deck plays 4 Llanowar Elves, a very iconic acceleration card in Magic. It costs 1 and you can tap it for mana. And the deck also runs 4 Elvish Mystic. This is basically identical to Llanowar Elves. It's even an Elf Druid as well. And the deck also runs 4 Heritage Druid. Now this is a very core card in the Elves deck. It lets you tap 3 elves to generate 3 green mana. Now the deck also runs 4 Nettle Sentinel. Now this has a fantastic interaction with Heritage Druid that lets you dump your hand of elves as early as turn 2. Now imagine if on turn 1 you played Elvish Mystic, and then turn 2 you played Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinel, and then you could tap all 3 to get 3 green mana. You could then use 1 of that green mana to play another elf, let's say a Llanowar elf, and then you could untap Nettle Sentinel. Now you've got 2 untapped elves and 2 green mana in your pool. If you then played another elf with your remaining mana, you could then have another 3 untapped elves to tap for 3 more mana to then play even more elves with it. This chain and interaction is very important for the deck to be able to play its elves very fast. The deck also runs 4 Elvish Visionary. She is an amazing card because she replaces herself. And those there are the creatures that make up the mana engine of your deck. Let's move on to the creatures that act as win conditions. The deck runs 4 Elvish Archdruid. He gives all of your elves +1/+1, and he also taps for a ton of mana when combined with your other elves. And the deck also runs 3 Azuri Renegade Leader. Now, most of the time, your games are going to be won off of the back of Azuri. And oftentimes, you'll be able to activate his ability 2 times, maybe 3 times in a single turn, turning your elves from 1/1s into 7/7s or even 10/10 tramplers. Those are the win conditions. Now we're going to move on to the support creatures in the deck. These creatures are normally played as a one-of in the main board so that you can use your tutoring cards to look for them when you need answers to specific problems. Now elves will often have about 6 flexi spots to dedicate to this part of the deck, so sometimes you may want to play more than 1 copy of each of these cards. Scavenging Ooze is often played. Now this may not be an elf card, but it lets you deal with decks that are manipulating the graveyard for value, like Snapcaster Mage decks, plus it also gains you life. Spellskite is an amazing card that is often played in the elf deck as a one-off. He can redirect an opponent's spell or ability onto him. This has many purposes. You can use this to protect your important elf cards like Azuri, or you can use it to say fizzle the Splinter Twin combo by redirecting the Splinter Twin onto him. Reclamation Sage lets you destroy important artifacts or enchantments on the board like Spreading Seas while giving you an elf card to attack with. Eternal Witness is often played. She lets you get back an important card from your graveyard. She may not be an elf, but she is still a body to attack with. Elvish Champion is often played as an alternate win condition in the deck. If your opponent has forests, then he gives all of your other elf creatures Forest Walk and +1, making them a very scary army indeed. Mirror Entity is also often played as another win condition in the deck and is a really good reason to splash white. This can let you pump your elves hugely, and because Mirror Entity has Changeling, it means then that Mirror Entity is also an elf. Fauna Shaman is often played because she lets you tutor for any card that you want easily. Dornan's Elite is also often played in the slot. When it's played, it's normally played as a 3-of or a 4-of instead of a 1-of or a 2-of. It lets you make elf token creatures very fast. And those there are the creatures most commonly played in Collected Company Elves in Modern. Let's move on to the instants that are played in the deck. Usually the instants that are played in Modern Elves are only tutor cards. Of course, the deck runs 4 Collected Company. This here will not only give you insane card advantage by letting you use 1 card to get 2 creatures, but it will also let you dig through 6 cards in your deck and select the best of the creature cards. The deck also runs 4 Chord of Calling. This is a very important card that lets you look for your 1-of utility creatures. And those there are the instants. Let's move on to the land cards commonly played in Modern Elves. Elves is a green and white deck, so it runs land cards to support both colours. Usually Modern Elves runs 19 lands, with some people running 18 lands. Now, unlike most other modern decks, Elves usually does not run shock lands like Temple Garden or fetch lands like Wooded Foothills. However, because the deck is so new, relatively speaking, there is still a lot of variation and room for growth in the lands. The lands I'm about to say are just the ones that are commonly played right now. The deck runs 4 Horizon Canopy. This is a very important land card because it can cantrip and replace itself, which is very relevant in a deck like Elves, which can often flood out with mana. It also runs 4 copies of Razor Verge Thicket. Because of the fact that you're only running 19 lands or sometimes even 18 lands, the downside often won't matter. It then runs 4 copies of Cabin of Souls, which makes your elf creatures uncounterable. Plus, the deck will usually run anywhere from 1 to 3 copies of Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. This land card will let you generate humongous amounts of mana, but has the downside of being a legendary permanent, so remember you can only have 1 of it in play at a single time. Some lists also run a single copy of Pendlehaven to get extra value instead of playing a basic forest. The reason why they only play 1 of it is because of the fact that it is a legendary land. And for the same reason, a lot of decks will also run a single copy of Akina Temple of the Grandfathers. And again, this is a legendary land, so you do not want to draw more than 1 at a single time, which is why you would only run 1 in the deck. And of course, the rest of the slots are filled with basic forests. Those are the cards that commonly see play in Modern Elves mainboard. Let's move on to the cards that commonly see play in the sideboard. Kitchen Finks is an amazing card to bring in against aggro decks and burn decks. Not only does it gain you life, but it's also a recurring body to block with. Kataki War's Wage is brought in against affinity cards. It turns off some of the most important cards in affinity: Arcbound Ravager and Cranial Plating. Fracturing Gust is a very flexible card in the sideboard. You can bring it in against affinity, Boggles, Splinter Twin, and it can even kill an Eidolon of the Great Rebel. Dismember is a colorless removal spell that gives you options to kill problematic creatures. Now, normally elf decks don't really care about vanilla beaters like Tarmogoyf, but they do care about Infect's Blighted Agent and Twin's Deceiver Exarch. Beast Within is another common sideboard card, and it can kill any problematic permanent, including lands. It is usually brought in against combo decks. Choke is an excellent card to bring in against island-based decks. With the help of a mana dork, you can usually play this by turn 2. Baronton Forge Tender is a fantastic core target that can protect your elves from red sweepers like Anger of the Gods. And of course, a lot of elf sideboards also feature cards that are seen in the main board as utility creatures, like Spellskite, Scavenging Ooze, and Reclamation Sage. So those there are the cards that you commonly see in the elf main board and sideboard. As I said earlier, Elves is a very new deck, relatively speaking. It's been around for quite some time, but the Collected Company version is only really just starting to take off. This means that there is a lot of room for growth. Try out different combinations of cards and see what you like best. Now, if you liked this video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to my channel for more great videos like this on Magic the Gathering. Thanks for watching, and happy elf bulling your way to victory.